Ladies, I came here tonight not to tickle your ears, but to trouble your spirit. I came to speak to the you behind the makeup, the you behind the smile at, the you who knows how to dress up brokenness and call it fine. But, baby, I see you. You're exhausted trying to be enough for people who don't even know who they are. You're shrinking in spaces you were called to stand tall in. You keep settling for company because you're afraid of silence. But let me tell you something that might shake you at your core. Being alone is not a course. It's a calling. God didn't create you to cling. He created you to be whole. And some of us can't find peace because we keep tying our purpose to people who were never meant to stay. You're so scared of being alone that you'll choose chaos over clarity, toxicity over truth, familiarity over freedom. But I declare tonight, it's time to break that fear. It's to stop being the woman who's afraid to be alone. Because alone with God is better than attached to anything that pulls you away from who you really are. Oh, somebody shout, amen. If you're ready to reclaim your peace, shout out. Enough. If you're being bound by fear, because tonight we tear down the lie that says your worth depends on who stays. Loneliness is not always the enemy we think it is. Sometimes it's the environment God uses to bring us back to ourselves. Many women have been conditioned to believe that being alone means being unwanted, unworthy, or incomplete. But that is a lie from the pit of hell. The world has taught us to measure our value by our associations, by who loves us, who chooses us, who calls us mine. But what if I told you that wholeness doesn't come from being chosen by someone else? It comes from choosing yourself, from standing in the presence of God and realizing you were already complete before anyone showed up to validate it. See, we've confused companionship with completion. We've told ourselves, if I could just find the right person, I'll finally feel whole. But what happens when you find that person and still feel empty? What happens when you give your all and still feel overlooked, unseen, unfulfilled? That's when you learn the truth. No human being can fill a God-sized void. No relationship can replace the work you must do within yourself. When you run from loneliness, you often run into something worse: codependency, addiction, heartbreak, identity loss. You sacrifice your peace just to say you have somebody. But God never created you to need someone else to be whole. He created you in his image, complete and lacking nothing. The issue is not that you're alone. The issue is that you don't yet see the power in your solitude. Aloneness is not punishment. It's preparation. It's where God heals you, matures you, stretches you, and silences every false voice that said you're not enough. When you learn to sit in silence and not feel shame, when you can walk into your home and not fear the stillness, when you can the mirror and actually love who you see, that's when the enemy starts losing his grip. Because now you don't move from fear. Now you don't settle because you're scared. Now you know I'm whole by myself, and anything that joins me must add, not complete. You are not half a woman waiting on her other half. You are the full thing. Desperation will make you ignore red flags and call them passion. It'll make you stay in rooms where your presence is only tolerated, not honored. When a woman moves from a place of desperation, she lowers her discernment. She starts confusing attention with affection, chaos with chemistry, and control with care. Desperation doesn't just attract dysfunction. It justifies it. You'll start telling yourself, it's not that bad, or at least I'm not alone. But at what cost? How much peace do you have to lose before you realize that your soul is too expensive to lease out to dysfunction? See, when your heart is starving, even poison looks like a meal. You begin to accept love that wounds, words that manipulate, and patterns that repeat the same pain you said you'd never endure again. You stay longer than you should, give more than you have, and apologize for things that were never your fault. That's what desperation does. It blinds you. It keeps you chasing people who don't see your value because deep down you're afraid no one ever will. So you perform, you fix, you overfunction. You twist yourself into something unrecognizable just to be chosen, thinking if you become more of what they want, maybe you'll finally be enough. But dysfunction doesn't leave when you work harder. It leaves when you heal deeper. When you know your worth, you stop entertaining things that insult it. But the truth is, many women never pause long enough to ask, why do I keep attracting the same kind of pain? It's not always about them. It's about the unhealed parts of you that believe pain is normal. You can't fix a dysfunction by decorating it. You can't rebuke what you still crave. Until you confront the fear that's driving your choices, you'll keep calling bondage connection. God doesn't bless what you beg to stay. He blesses what you're willing to release. And when you release from a place of healing, not bitterness, you begin to attract from overflow, not emptiness. The right person won't require you to shrink, settle, or suffer. But you'll never recognize the right one if desperation is still doing the picking. You've got to stop feeding your loneliness with dysfunction and start feeding your spirit with truth, because desperation may feel urgent, but it always comes at a cost. And baby, you are too valuable to be discounted by your own fear. Every exit isn't a rejection, it's a rescue. But when you're tied to the idea that someone's presence equals your worth, you'll see their departure as your failure. You'll mourn what left without realizing God removed it for your protection. Sometimes the door slammed in your face wasn't punishment. It was divine preservation. God saw conversations behind your back, intentions behind their smiles, motives you were too in love to discern. And because he loves you more than your comfort, he allowed the exit. You thought it broke you, but it actually saved you. We often beg God for peace while holding on to what's stealing it. We cry for clarity, but stay in confusion because it's familiar. But deliverance doesn't always come dressed in a miracle. It sometimes comes in the form of disconnection. And if you're not spiritually alert, you'll call it loss when it was actually liberation. God is too committed to your future to let your past have a seat at your table. Some people can't go where you're going because they don't have the character to handle what's next. So instead of asking why they left, ask what God is trying to teach you in their absence. You don't need closure when God gave you a way out. You don't need explanations from people who never saw your worth. Sometimes the greatest healing is accepting that the goodbye was the gift. The truth is, some exits are necessary to make room for the real thing. If your hands are full of what's draining you, how will you ever receive what's meant to bless you? We can't keep asking God for better while clinging to what keeps us bitter. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's lonely. But growth always comes with pruning. You cannot flourish with dead weight attached to your roots. And sometimes God will let it fall apart so he can rebuild you stronger, wiser, more discerning. You don't owe anyone your peace just to keep them from leaving. And you don't have to feel guilty for surviving what tried to keep you stuck. What left your life wasn't stronger than the God who remains. So lift your head, wipe your tears, and stop looking at the closed door, because what walked away wasn't your destiny. It was just your distraction. We've been taught that peace comes from people. If they love me, I'll feel safe. If they stay, I'll be okay if they choose me. I must be worth something. But real peace doesn't come from presence. It comes from alignment. It comes from being in step with God, even when the crowd thinks. Peace isn't about who surrounds you. It's about who sustains you. And if your peace can be stolen when someone leaves, it was never rooted in truth to begin with. Peace is not a product of your relationship status. It is a product of your spiritual posture. God's peace is not circumstantial. It transcends understanding. That means you can be alone, yet anchored, misunderstood, yet unshaken, overlooked, yet overflowing with the stillness that comes from knowing who holds your life together. Too many women have traded divine peace for temporary company. You allow people to enter your space and disturb your spirit because the silence scares you, but peace is the evidence that God is near. And when God is near, you stop needing others to fill the room. You realize that their presence may comfort you, but only his presence completes you. Some of us are addicted to noise, emotional noise, relational noise, the sound of being needed. But there's a difference between needed and being nurtured. People can need you and still never see you. They can be in your life and still disrupt your peace. That's why discernment matters. You have to know when a person brings you closer to God and when they pull you further from your purpose. The right people won't compete with your peace. They'll protect it. When you prioritize peace, you learn to guard your space, your mind, and your emotions. You stop explaining your standards to those who benefit from your compromise. You stop making room for chaos just to avoid being alone. Because now you understand that peace is not passive, it's powerful. It's a sign that heaven is backing you, even if no one else claps for you. It's a quiet confidence that says, God's got me, and that's enough. You'll start to feel the difference between company and covering. God covers you with peace that no text, no touch, no title can replace. And when that kind of peace wraps around your life, you won't chase what left, you'll bless it, because anything that costs you your peace is too expensive, and anything that carries God's peace will never make you question your worth. Purpose doesn't wait for you to be comfortable. It won't knock softly while you're tangled up in relationships that drain you. Purpose shows up demanding room, and some of us can't hear its call because we're too busy managing broken attachments. You're babysitting trauma, nurturing dysfunction, mothering grown emotions that are not your responsibility. And while you're trying to fix people, you're forfeiting the very thing you were born to do. God didn't create you to be a rehabilitation center for broken men, toxic friendships, or anyone who refuses to grow. You're not responsible for saving people who are committed to staying the same. Some of us are so entangled in emotional caretaking that we've forgotten our own assignment. You've been loyal to what limits you. You've prayed for purpose while prioritizing people who wouldn't even pray for you. But calling requires clarity. Destiny requires detachment. You cannot carry your cross and carry everyone else's baggage too. The path to purpose is narrow, and you won't make it dragging everything that's familiar but not fruitful. It's not that God hasn't called you. It's that he can't get your attention. Your hands are too full. Your heart is too entangled. Your peace is too compromised. Purpose needs space to breathe. And the longer you cling to what was, the more you delay what is. You don't have time to keep editing yourself just to keep others comfortable. You don't have time to pour into empty cups, hoping they'll finally notice your worth. Your calling is not up for debate. It's not dependent on who affirms it or who walks away from it. God already approved you, but you'll never fully walk in that approval if you're still addicted to external validation. There comes a moment where you have to decide, am I going to be loyal to my potential or loyal to my pain? Am I going to keep babysitting what broke me or finally birth what's been placed inside me? You weren't called to carry brokenness as a badge. You were called to rise from it, speak from it, and lead others out of it. But you can't do that if you're still stuck in it. You can't move forward when your feet are planted in the past. Your future doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be available. But availability to God means saying no to every distraction that tries to look like love. Your purpose is waiting for your yes, not your excuses. So if you truly want to meet your next level, you've got to stop protecting what's keeping you stuck and start protecting what God has placed inside of you.